sort of on a journey at the moment of learning how to calm my nervous system. I'm a easily
Yeah.
excitable person, which means I'm very enthusiastic about life, but I can,
Yeah.
you just stay in that heightened anxiety mode, as
Mhm.
you probably well know. Did you journey through that yourself, or you seem quite relaxed? Maybe it's California.
Ask my family, they know the truth. I say I run anxious, and I probably always have. I mean, I don't have panic attacks or anything like that, but yeah, I do run anxious. Yeah.
Mm.
So, I'm a work in progress.
Okay, okay, that's good. So am I. So am I. And I think the good thing is that when I do talk to other mothers like yourself, it is something that they are more aware of, whereas perhaps other families who haven't been through quite as much, and
Mhm.
they don't necessarily live in that heightened nervous system. And
Right.
yeah, which I didn't before my son was diagnosed with cancer. And before that, I was
Mhm.
able to tone myself down a bit more easily. And now it's just constantly there.
Yes. Yeah, I understand. And we place unrealistic expectations on ourselves that we somehow should be calmer mothers, but when we have to live with the vigilance that we live with, of course we're anxious.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But it's an interesting discussion, and I know that Hannah's brought this up before, that, people could say, you're so strong. God chose you to be this mother of a child with a disability. Obviously, you can handle it. And she has pushed back on that at times, which I
Me
love.
too.
You
Yeah.
have to. Yeah. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Okay. So, people say that because I think it makes them feel better.
Mhm.
I think people say that because they don't know or they're afraid to really connect with our pain and the load that we truly carry.
Yeah.
I think it's a cliche and a platitude that just gets passed around. So people think it's okay to say.
Yeah.
And they think that they're complimenting you, but, it's actually not a biblical statement. It's not true. And as any of us will testify, this is more than we can handle.
Yeah.
We choose to figure it out every single day and rise up and, find our resources, whether that's personal, mental, emotional, the social services, our relationships. I mean, we don't have a choice,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
love our children immensely. So, of course, we're going to rise up and do everything we can to advocate for them. And we show up looking really strong and brave and resilient, and we are, but we still need help and we still need support.
Maybe I'm coming from a personal angle there. Thank you for sharing that. Do you think that, and maybe this has just been my approach because I'm a person, I do like to be in control, and it's not necessarily showing the image of being in control. It's just, for myself, I'll vacuum the whole house and clear the whole kitchen before we leave for the day so that I can come back and just feel like things are in order
Right.
so that the next
Yes.
stage of the day runs smoothly. That's kind of in my mind. And I know not everyone obviously works that way. And I recognize for me, it is an element of wanting to be in control.
For sure.
And do you think that is something that is actually heightened in mothers who are raising children with disabilities, just that need that your life is out of control? So
Mhm.
therefore, I am going to present myself to look great, to wear the makeup, to do my hair, to have my car clean and tidy for when I turn out the kids are, you look like you have it all together. You look like you're doing great. You're so strong. And you're wanting to
Mm.
project that image for yourself to make yourself feel better. But like you say, when someone says it, it almost shuts that whole conversation down. It's like, well, I can't open up and say, actually, I'm completely falling apart on the inside because I've made it look otherwise. Does that make any sense?
Of course, that makes sense. So, yes, I think because first of all, control is a complete illusion, which crisis teaches us that, but we're still grasping for control. I am still grasping for control. I'm exactly you. I may not vacuum my whole house, but I want the counter clean. I want the clutter gone. You know, I can't control Ryan's life, but I can control my closet. I can control my cupboards. I can, declutter and make a trip to Goodwill and donate a bunch of stuff. And that feels really good and very
Yeah.
cleansing. And it's a false sense of control, which is something that's been a part of my life always. I've always, I couldn't study in college if my room wasn't clean and tidy. I absolutely hate waking up to a sink full of dishes because somebody in my household didn't do their chore. Like, I feel like I'm behind.
Yeah.
I think we have to do those little things that make us feel like we have agency and control. I think it's fine as until it gets harmful, right? Where we're spending hours excessively organizing and we're not taking care of ourselves and our families,
Mm.
right? That's goes to extreme. I think, yes, the fact that, I mean, I naturally like to put on makeup and clothes and I'm interested in, like I like being put together. I like putting an outfit together. And yes, of course, it can make people, when you are put together, they think you have, you know, your act together.
Yeah.
I want to just say the word.
Yeah.
Um, and it's, we do still live in a very superficial society. If you have a cute pair of jeans, you must have it all, all together.
So true.
And not that's not the case. So I think the more that we just share honestly, vulnerably, despite how we might be put together and our car is clean when we show up at pickup and there isn't a bunch of trash falling out of our car when the van door opens, I think we're better off. We're more relatable,
Yeah.
vulnerability, connections with other people. I think that's why, like, if somebody will compliment me, I'm like, yeah, I got my earrings at Target. Like, I don't really care, like,
Yeah.
I don't, I want to take down, like, please don't put me on a pedestal, like
Yes.
I'm just a regular person. And, I don't know.
We're really excited to have you on the podcast today. We're grateful that you can speak into our audience. We're probably a different audience than what you have because we are Australasia based, Australia, New Zealand, and some in the UK as well. So it's exciting to be speaking to you over in California. And we've been watching your movement for a while. So this is Jessica Patay. She is the founder and CEO of We Are Brave Together. It's a non-profit serving over 4,200 caregiving mothers across 50 states in America and 30 countries, which is just amazing. I want to learn more about this. You're also host of the Brave Together podcast, a podcast I have been listening to during my journey before I even started this podcast. And you're a co-author of 2 books, including one soon to be released in a few days, about 10 days away, called Suddenly Brave Together. So welcome to the Stronger Side podcast, Jessica, and we love having you here. Thank you.
I'm so happy to be here. Genuinely. Thank you. I'm so excited about our conversation today.
Yeah, likewise. So you have a son, Ryan, and this is probably what started off your journey into disability, motherhood, and I'll let you introduce him and what's going on with him. But he's now 22 years old. So again, you're at a different stage probably than most of our mothers who are listening. Please share with us the start of your journey. Perhaps take us back to the beginning when you realized that you were going to be a caregiving mother, and what did that moment feel like?
Thank you. So, I entered marriage and motherhood as a perfectionist and, really had really high ideals and expectations and big dreams. I came from quite a unique family story, just blended and blended, and lots of half siblings and step siblings and divorce and remarry, just a lot. And so I went into marriage and motherhood, so excited to create just this tight little nuclear family that I could control. I use air quotes for the listener around the word control as I said that. And we had our first son, Luke, who just had a beautiful pregnancy and delivery. He wasn't quite the easiest newborn, so I waited a couple years to have another. And then I was pregnant with Ryan, my second son. We didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl. My husband wanted to be surprised this time. So, right before we had Ryan, I thought, great, we're going to have our 2 kids. It'll be one-on-one, easy to manage. Great, then we're done. And we'll just that is easy to control, said the control freak. He came out and he barely cried, barely cried. And I thought, I wonder, maybe I got an quote unquote easy newborn. He was so quiet. It really stood out to me. But right away, he had medical issues. They scooped him away, took him, to check on him. And I didn't see him for many, many hours. But I was still kind of in that glow. I just had my second baby. Oh, we have a boy, brothers, just kind of in that dreamy, glowy, aching first day. But the next day, it became very apparent that something was wrong. And they started doing all these tests and scans and ultrasounds and blood tests and what have you. And so we spent a month in the hospital not knowing why Ryan was born with low muscle tone, why he couldn't suck, why he couldn't cry. They diagnosed him with failure to thrive, which is a diagnosis when your baby doesn't cry. They don't wake up to eat. They don't, cry because their diaper is wet or they're uncomfortable or Ryan he didn't cry his whole first year, actually. Um, and then because he was born on a weekend, there wasn't an OT, an occupational therapist that came in to take a look at him and really describe for us what was going on. Because to me, he just looked like a skinny newborn. He was only actually 1 pound less than Luke, but they kind of treated him like he was a preemie. So we were in the hospital for a month and he needed a feeding tube for us to go home. I said, give him the feeding tube. We'll learn how to do it. Poor Luke is wondering where his mother was. He was 2.5 at the I had Ryan. And so we went home and thankfully my husband found the diagnosis and asked them to test. And so a week after we got out of the hospital, our pediatrician called us and kindly told us the news that Ryan had a rare genetic disorder called Prader-Willi syndrome. So while I was in the hospital, and this was before smartphones, I didn't Google anything. I didn't look up anything. I just wanted to protect my mental health while I was there because it was very worrisome. We had no idea why Ryan was having all these medical issues. So as soon as we got that diagnosis, though, my husband got in touch with the California Foundation and the national organization here in the States that serves families who have children, teens, and adults with Prader-Willi syndrome. So then within a few days, I got a phone call and I call it the Lisa phone call. And she called to say, hi, I'm going to be your mentor mom. She was a few years ahead of me in the journey with her son. And she said, you can call me anytime you want and I'm here for
Wow.
you.
I'm crying. Sorry. It's awesome. That's awesome. And it's a very rare syndrome too,
Mhm.
isn't it? So the
Mhm.
chances of having those people to connect with in the region that you live with is phenomenal. And it sounds like your husband was very supportive at that time. Obviously,
Mhm.
that would have had strains on your relationship, but did you just say, we're going to take a two-pronged approach to this? It sounds like he picked up what you just didn't have the capacity to do at the time. How did that look between the two of you at the time?
He was so involved. He still is so involved. We had so many medical appointments in the beginning. He went to all the medical doctor, appointments with me. I don't really know how because he's an attorney, he has a very demanding job. His office is in downtown Los Angeles, 25 miles away, which in Southern California might as well be 50 miles away for how long it takes you. Um, and we had therapists in the house, thankfully, so I didn't have to go to a center-based setting for occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy for Ryan. It was a lot, and Chris was in it with me. He didn't make me feel because I was a stay-at-home mom at the time and he was working that I go to work, I cover the bills, I cover the insurance, you handle Ryan. You handle all of this. He just was in it naturally with me. I didn't have to say,
Love that.
we're equally carrying this together. We just did, and I am extremely grateful. And um, I'm sure, and I still do, have opinions about what I think is right or this or that. But I never tried to control all of it on my own. I don't know the control freak that I am. uh, I think, frankly, I was just so scared and it was so new and it was such a learning curve. And um, I was so happy that I had somebody to share it with
Yeah.
as a partner. And so, I mean, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have such a supportive, loving, caring partner who was in it with me.
I love that. And it's interesting also, just from speaking to you, that, we keep talking about the element of wanting control. And when you're thrown into that situation, you don't have control. But also, given that you grew up in a family that was blended and broken at times, and that can cause you to want to have more control. And also the fact that you were able to trust your husband so much at that time and to relinquish some of that control over to him is a
Mhm.
phenomenal testament to your character and the trust in the relationship between the two of you as well.
Mm.
Because I am a strong believer that everywhere you journey in life does actually shape you up until the point where you have these big challenges and situations to handle. And
Mhm.
sometimes you realize those hardships you went through have actually prepared you without knowing it. They've prepared you for handling the situation, or perhaps it's a case of having to go in the opposite direction of what you grew up with and say, okay, we're going all in on this relationship. We're in this together. I trust you. You trust me. We're both on the
Mhm.
same page. We both want the same outcomes. So that's just a
Yeah,
beautiful testament to your relationship. Thank you for sharing
thank
that.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
amazing.
Been almost 30 years.
3
It
years?
goes to almost 30 years.
So but obviously you've had a very long journey up until this point, but there must have been a point where you were accepting, of being able to be vulnerable and accountable to someone else. Lisa, the call from Lisa and responding to her. Did you find it difficult to pick up the phone and call her the first time and say, I don't know what to say, but let's connect? Or were you just ready to connect with someone else who understood you at that point? And the reason I'm asking that is because I'm not sure about the other mothers. I'll be really interested to hear the other mothers' feedback on this when they speak to us in the comments and emails afterwards. But I know for myself, my son was diagnosed with cancer, and a month later, I know I was 8 months pregnant. My daughter was born with postnatally diagnosed Down syndrome. And then my son became an amputee and she had a heart defect. So in the matter of a few months, we were invited to join the Child Cancer Foundation, the Child Amputee Association, the Down Syndrome Association, and the Heart Kids Association. And all of these people were calling me. And for me, I was so overwhelmed by the whole scenario of these double diagnosis inside a double diagnosis. And I just had rejected all of it. I didn't want to talk about it over and over again. And I didn't want to hear other people's stories. And obviously, I've come a long way because now I'm co-host of a podcast where I'm asking people their stories, and I'm happy to talk about these situations over and over again. And so I'd love to know from you how you responded to Lisa's phone call at that time, and then what
Mhm.
led you to go and build the We Are Brave community in 2017.
Well, I first want to say, of course you didn't feel like it, Vanessa. It's so understandable. You were dealing with double the diagnoses and double diagnoses within. I mean,
Uh-huh.
you had so much going on. I can't imagine. I mean, I can because I've been through with one. So, you know, two, it's a lot to manage and navigate just logistically, but emotionally. So much worry, so much concern, so much learning. So no wonder you didn't feel like telling your story again and again and talking to anybody. You were exhausted. You were
Yeah.
exhausted and grappling with
Yeah.
it. So I just want to validate that.
Thank you.
Would never say, well, you should have done blah, blah, blah. Like, how dare I say that to you? No, I just have compassion because it's a lot to carry. It's a lot to grapple with. I think I just was frankly so excited that there was actually somebody here in Los Angeles that I could talk to. Because when you read about it and you hear that it's so rare, you think there's not going to be anybody in Southern California that has another child with this
Mm,
genetic disorder. But that is actually not the case. And it doesn't feel as rare for as many people as I've met here in California and, across the world that have a child with PWS. It's not like there's only 300 or 500 or 1,000 in the world. It's the statistic is 1 in 12 to 15,000
okay.
babies will be born with PWS.
Yeah. Well,
Mm. I was so scared because we were in, I call it an alternate universe having a child with a diagnosis. Like our world shifted like that with a diagnosis, which is why, well, we'll get into it, which is why we call our second book Suddenly Brave Together, because your world suddenly changes when a diagnosis has been delivered. I think I was eager to go to our first support group. Both Chris and I were both eager to go because we were just so scared. We had no idea what we were doing. And when you read about PWS, it's quite a mix of symptoms and it's kind of strange too. So we were just eager to find other people who were in the trenches as well.
Yeah. There's a lot to be learnt from that and a lot to be taken from that. And I do hope that other mothers who are hearing that can be encouraged, even like myself, to be encouraged to reach out to communities around them who do get them and who do understand. So you talked about in just in our back and forth conversations, you had talked about a fundamental shift that you made in your mind, that you went from why me to what now. So when
Mhm.
did that happen and what sparked it?
Well, I think it's very easy to ask that question. Why me? Why Ryan? Why our family? Why does he have this diagnosis? And I don't think, I'm almost 23 years into this journey. I really don't think we ever necessarily get those answers. Now, I don't think that I would have liked hearing that at the beginning because you want it to make sense.
Yeah, you do. You do.
I don't think there is. Now, can we make the best of it? Yes. Can we learn? Can we be open to life lessons when crisis and chronic hardship hits? Absolutely. Will we become better people? Hopefully. And most of the time, yes, we will, because it just it it you know sands off the rough edges. I
Mm,
think that, because I had Ryan, it really helped me to mostly recover from perfectionism, because there's just a shift that goes on with your perspective and your priorities and your sense of purpose
yeah.
when you have a child with a disability. Now, what helped me to shift from why me to what now was being around other people. I think one of the myths that it floats around is that if I am in a support group, if I am in a community of other parents with disabled children, it's going to make me sad, more sad. It's going to take me down. I'm not going there. I'm not going. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be around anybody.
Which is kind of
So,
my mentality, has been a little bit up until this point. I'm gonna be honest about that. Yeah,
no, and I think it's really understandable
yeah,
because we're carrying a lot. Our lives are heavy.
yeah.
For me, it validated what I was experiencing. It
Mm,
validated what I was feeling. And so when you feel the onlyness, I'm the only one in my family. I'm the only one in my friend circle. I'm the only one, you know, at work or church or temple or whatever it is you want to say. Like I am the only one here that has a child with a disability. That can really keep you stuck in, why me? Why did I have to have this?
mm.
When you're then surrounded, though, when you jump into community with other parent caregivers and you realize your fears and your cyclical grief and your worries and your wonders and the load that you carry is shared by everyone. You're not the only one who feels those things and thinks those things and is struggling to navigate. And just that validation, being seen, being understood by other people who get it, I think can really help to lift that bitterness and resentment of why me.
Said. Well said. And so you've built We're Brave Together, a community that now spans 4,200 mothers or caregivers, I should say, around the globe. How do you, without breaking down your frameworks, obviously, what is
Mhm.
your vision behind that with helping the mothers feel less isolated and part of a community? Obviously, you're very purpose driven in that, and I'm really feeling that passion off you. Um, can you just dive into that for a little bit? And then I'd love you to dive into sharing about the book suddenly Brave Together that you have coming out, who that's going to impact. And yeah, let's talk about all of it. Go for it.
So I knew that, the power of community is what saved me. Having people in my life who really understood my journey, really saved me.
Yeah.
And I want that for everybody. I wanted that for everybody. So the mission of We Are Brave Together, we launched, 2017. The mission was and is still the same, to preserve and protect the mental health of caregiving moms. We want to inform, we want to inspire, we want to empower, we want to resource. So everything that we do is about that. And the four areas, or our four main offerings, are our connection circles, which is what we call our support groups. We have them across the country. We have virtual and in person.
Mm.
We have some that are topical, like we just started a medical moms connection circle. So everyone probably knows what I'm talking about when you say a medical mom. You're navigating the medical system,
Yeah.
or you traumatized by the medical system. And so that is something that's brand new that we are offering. A lot of our connection circles are by geography: Boston, Los Angeles, New York, Atlanta, Omaha, Nebraska. We've also had some outside the US. In New Zealand, we had a virtual one. In Australia, we had a virtual one for a few years. Not currently, but we'd like to come back. Um, We offer retreats. So weekend retreats, we cover most of the cost, and we offer now 5 scholarships per retreat. They're intimate, 15 or 16 people, and it's meant to be a time to rest, relax, take a break from caregiving, to get some mental health education with a wonderful speaker who's a coach or a therapist,
Wow.
also a caregiving mom. And we've been doing retreats from the beginning. We've completed 42 retreats. We started off doing them in Southern California, and now we do them across the United States. Again, would love to do one abroad. Maybe New Zealand will be our first one. Who
Yes.
knows? Let's talk it. Our third
Yeah.
pillar is our
Amazing.
Together podcast. We have story episodes. We have experts on there. We have thriving disabled adults on our
Mm.
podcast. We like to, throw in a few dads here and there from time to time as well. And then our latest offering are our books. Our first book was released in 2024, Becoming Brave Together, an anthology of caregiving stories, moms representing different diagnoses and ages of kids. And we really did that to shout the worth of caregiving and caregivers, and raise awareness about extreme caregiving, as I call it.
Yeah.
And then our second book is Suddenly Brave Together, which is a book of 30 letters. So 30 contributing authors writing letters as if they're writing to new or newer moms who are grappling with a new diagnosis, with a baby, a child, a teen. And it's, in the pages of a book, it's connection, it's community, it's a hug, it's you are not alone, it's you will be able to get through this. Trust
Mm.
me, will transform, and you will become an incredible human that you never thought you would be, in the pages of a book. And we think about, as an organization, how do we reach the unreachable moms? There are moms who cannot leave their life. They don't have, professional caregivers helping out. They don't have partners. Maybe they don't have, either one. We have
Geography,
moms,
living regionally as well.
geography, you're in a rural area, you are afraid to leave your child because they're medically fragile, psychologically fragile,
Yeah.
behaviorally fragile. And so, I can't leave. I can't. I'm too afraid to leave. I'm too afraid to trust somebody else to take over
No one
for
else
the
can
day.
handle this. No one else can handle them. All of
Yes,
those
and
fears.
some of it is stories that we tell ourselves, and some of it
Mm.
is that's the truth. I don't have any family. I don't have somebody that I feel like I can ask, or I'm way too afraid to ask. Anyways, there are obstacles, right? There are moms
Yeah.
who are stuck at home for various reasons. So how do we reach them? Well, a book could reach them.
Mm.
This is love. This is I see you. This is validation in the form of a book.
I love that, because the reality is there are caregiving mums who can't leave the house. They can't. And if they do, they don't necessarily have the capacity to connect with other people at that time. Perhaps leaving the house for them is going somewhere more secluded, quiet, headphones, nails, the type thing.
Mhm.
And I love how you mentioned reading the letters in this book is like being wrapped in a warm hug. It's being validated, it's being seen, it's being heard. So good. So we're really looking forward to it. Where can our audience find your book when it's released?
So if you go to our website, you can find it, but for your particular audience, they would go to Amazon for international.
Okay,
Um,
fantastic. We can link that below with all my
yes.
little descriptions that I do. And yeah, we're really looking forward to that. And there's so much wisdom to be gleaned from those mothers who are further along the journey, like yourself. And it's a funny thing talking to Jessica as well. And we've had a couple of conversations now, but I remember when I was pregnant with my firstborn and hadn't given birth, and I remember it was coming up to the time of the birth, thinking about it, and I thought, well, this could actually be quite painful. Not so relatable, but I was thinking, am I going to survive this? And then those fears come up of like, oh my goodness, so my body's about to go through a lot. And I remember being out in public and then looking at women who had babies. I'm like, well, she's obviously had a baby and she looks okay. She survived. She's had 3 children. She's smiling. So it was just that kind of looking at someone else further down the road and going, I'm going to be okay. And I know that's such
Yeah.
a simple example. And I was a young mum. So at the time, I had no idea what was coming up, just no idea.
Of
And
course.
just looking at these other mothers and going, okay, they're further ahead down the road. They're okay. I'm going to be okay. And I have actually adopted that mindset, as you mentioned before as well. It's just when you are around the other mothers or you read the stories of these other mothers and you say, everything is actually just going to be okay.
Hmm.
And I know a big part of that is relinquishing control, trusting other people to look after your children, and if you can, or maybe it's just easing up on things for yourself, easing up on
Hmm.
expectations,
Hmm.
maybe easing up on the routine. Maybe there is one day a week where you don't have that routine and you just can kind of go blah in the house and everyone just does whatever they need to do. And it's hard, especially for people like us who like things in order and in control, to actually go against the grain of that. But giving yourself that breather, this is what I'm taking from this conversation, is just understanding everything is actually going to be okay. Even when it's
It is.
not okay, and sometimes your worst case scenario plays out, and sometimes that absolutely happens, and there are very, very hard days in there for many women
Mhm.
out in our audience. But over the span of life, and your son's now 22 years old, and so you're in a different phase again with life. Can I ask, does he live with you still?
He does, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't our plan is that it won't be forever. We really would like him to be placed before anything happens to us, and, you're not guaranteed tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I don't wanna wait, until our health changes, and I think it's an opportunity for him to thrive and be independent from us. Even though he won't be fully independent, he will always need 24/7 care. I think there's a way that young adults and adults can thrive living separately. And it's not easy to do. It's not easy from a bureaucratic paperwork, navigating systems perspective, but we learned other things. We'll learn this pathway as well. And, I look forward to the day when I can just be Ryan's mom and not always be focused on caretaking all day long.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Well, Jessica, I'm not going to keep you for too much longer. I am conscious of time, and you are a busy, wonderful woman, but we have loved having you here today. We're excited about your book and we're grateful for your other books. So, again, I'm going to link to your website down below for anyone who would love to check out your resources, listen to your podcast, perhaps send you an email and with their thoughts and feedback on this story as well. And it's great to connect with you. So I'm going to drop a few details about how people can get in contact with you there. But before we go, is there anything else that you wanted to share with our audience and perhaps our mothers who are behind in the journey? And you've got so much wisdom. I don't even know where to start. I'm just going to hand it over to you and say, is there anything else that you want us to know?
Well, I want you to know that you're not alone. it feels lonely at times, and you can feel that loneliness that I was describing earlier. But you don't have to do this alone. You're not meant to do this alone. You cannot do it all. And so reach for life-giving support, reach for your lifelines, whether it's Vanessa's podcast, our podcast, communities that are for parents navigating specific or general diagnoses. There are so many people who want to support you, even though it feels like you're doing this on your own. Allow people to step into your life and to be life-giving and supportive.
It's the hardest for me. It really is. And that's what I was thinking about. I was like, just this is the humbling that I have had to
Mhm.
have is opening up and, yeah, saying to people, I need
Yeah.
your help. And
Yeah.
I was interested actually talking to you about how you had
Mhm.
built this nonprofit organization and you mentioned that you've had to learn to just ask for funds, ask for sponsorship, ask for all of these things. And I remember that actually over the last week. I thought, good on you, because it's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
Well, my passion for what I'm doing helps override that fear of asking people. I say I'm a shameless asker.
Yeah. That was what you, the word term you used.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I believe so strongly in what we're providing, and I want this to last. Like, I don't want this
Yeah.
to be, oh, it's so great. Well, Jessica did that for 10 years and then poof, it's gone. Like,
Yeah.
I want this to last beyond me being the one, leading the ship, steering the ship, so to speak.
Have a wonderful week. We're going to finish the podcast there. Thank you for being here, mothers, and Jessica Patay. We love you.
Thank you.